everyone. It's Jason Burrows here from Creation Agency. This is our second Hangout. Last time we talked, we all gathered together, so it was me, Nat, and Alex. So I've got the same guys back today to carry on our social conversation. So today's topic is social analytics. So before I tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about, let's just see and say hello to the other guys on the call. So say hello to Nat. Hi, Nat.
Hi. How you doing?
and Nat has very kindly put a clock in the background for everybody, so you can see what time it is. Look,
Friday.
Past 3. Alex, whose birthday it was last time. Alex is sat by the fire escape in her office.
Just in case I need to bolt.
Is that in case any of your customers come online and you need to jump on the door? Thank you. And this young man here, Peter, Peter wasn't on the call last time. Pete is our production assistant for these Hangouts.
Yes,
so,
just taking notes.
Pete's job is to get it on YouTube and to get it on Apple. So why don't I talk about what we're going to talk about today? So we're going to keep this one quite short because, to be frank, it's Friday and it's sunny outside. And considering everybody's either sat near a window or a door, they probably want to use it and get out. So we had this big discussion about talking about analytics. And interestingly, quite topically, I guess, Nat has just left IBM this morning. So Nat's been in there today talking about Watson. So we don't really want to talk about Watson today, not because we don't like it. So we do like Watson. And I was quite excited this morning because we got our IBM Verse login. So IBM Verse, for those of you that don't know, is it's like Notes, but the new version that's all cloud-based, and it includes social and also analytics. So the theory of IBM Verse is that you can run your cloud-based email through it, and then use social integrated for a common inbox, and then Watson will start to learn who you have conversations with, when they respond, things you haven't responded to. So not only will it help you prioritize, but also you'll dynamically be able to ask questions of your mail server, which seems quite interesting. Watson essentially is web-based or cloud-based email with analytics and social built in. So the Watson piece will start to learn who you're talking to, how they respond, all those kind of things, and then you'll be able to interrogate your email by asking it questions. So you'll be able to say, you know, when did, how often does it take Nat to reply to my emails? And how long did it take me to respond to his? And if I send him this email, how likely is it that he's going to respond to me? So Nat's probably smiling because he probably responds to mine a lot quicker than I respond to his, probably. So and then like probabilities and supply chain, all that kind of stuff too. So yeah. So we are, you know, today's a good kickoff for Watson and for IBM Verse, but that's not really where we think we wanted to start with analytics today. So where we want to start with analytics is really to talk a little bit about social listening. So Nat, Alex, me, other colleagues around the office get asked quite a lot about how do we build our intelligence on a marketplace, and how do we find out what's hot and what's trending, how do we find content, how do we find influencers, all those kind of things. And the honest answer for all of those things is social analytics. Certainly as an agency, Creation, we've been on a big long journey with analytics. We've gone through products like Radian 6, really great product from Nielsen called BuzzMetrics, which they sadly discontinued, and been through other products by companies such as Sysmos and Synthenzio. And we really believe in harnessing the data that's available today through the social APIs to help marketing planning, marketing measurement, and some quite tactical stuff. But all of us on this call kind of approach social analytics in quite a different way. So what I wanted to do was show you a little bit of an intro, talk a little bit about how I use it in my role. Then Nat can tell you a bit about what he's doing with the data. And then I guess from a tactical perspective, I'd like to invite Alex really just to give you some takeaways on in kind of B2B social media campaigning, how these kind of tools can help you really. But to help, what I thought I'd do is I'd just pull up a couple of charts just to explain a little bit about what we're going to talk about, because also this is something that's going to help us position what we will talk about on other calls as well. So we're not just talking about analytics as a whole topic. We're going to talk about analytics in a very specific way. So let me share my entire desktop. So what we wanted to do today is talk about social analytics from a listening perspective. So hopefully in the Hangout now you can all see my my fantastic chart that the guys in the studio put together for me. And that is, over the next 2 weeks, I want to talk about analytics in two different ways. The first one is the top piece of this pyramid, which is looking at commenting users. And next week I want to talk about the data below the fold, which is people that are just listening. So let me just position this slide for you slightly. So what we're saying here is that we use live social analytics to monitor conversations. So the software that we'll show you and what we'll talk about is the fact that we're monitoring over 80 million global sources. So that isn't just Twitter and Facebook. It includes forums, it includes blogs, it includes all the WordPress sites out there, all the blogger sites out there. It includes things like Instagram, things like Tumblr. Now, of course, it isn't magic, so if it's Instagram and Tumblr, it's only looking at the words within the post. It can't interrogate kind of text if it's part of a JPEG or a PNG or something like that, you know, on an Instagram post. But we can tell if somebody's actually hashtagged it or if somebody's used a word on a post too. So live social analytics is fantastic for putting your ear to the internet and seeing what people are talking about. And I'll give you a couple of examples of how we use that today, and we'll show you some of the tools. Now, but what this is really doing is it's finding people that are talking. So if we look on behalf of one of our clients, so take Samsung for example, if we want to know if somebody's talking about the new S6, that's really easy, because we just pick up the hashtags that they're using, we look at the brand terms, and we see who's talking where, we can see who the advocates are, who the influencers are, we can see the websites that these conversations be discussed on, and of course we can put those conversations in a context. So are they good and are they bad? But the key thing here is that we're only identifying people that are actually talking. We're not identifying people that are following and listening. So let's take that example. Samsung have something in the region of, I think, about 86,000 people follow their UK mobile phone account. But not all of those 86,000 people are actually talking to Samsung or talking about Samsung. A lot of them are genuinely listening. So they are informed, they are being influenced by the post, but they're not necessarily going on and talking about Samsung all the time. That doesn't mean they're inactive in social. It means that they might be talking about other things. So I might be consuming information in some channels, but talking about something else. So at the agency, what we do in social analytics is we do it in two stages. The first one is to look at live conversations, and then the second one is to do a deep dive into follower behavioral analysis. So the follower the follow-up behavior analysis really starts to enable us to group people into cohorts, to understand what they're interested in, understand what websites they go to, understand who influences them, to be able to put together media and engagement plans to present an offer to them. But what we're going to talk about today really is the top piece of this graph, which is the social analytics. So here's an example of some charts that we'll show you in a second, the kind of stuff that you can get out of it. And I just wanted to get to this one. So this is kind of a good example of showing you live social listening and what you get for putting your ear to the web, but then also doing this follower analysis. And here you can see a few different customers that we've done this for probably in the last month actually. So these are showing cohorts of followers. So we've got Samsung and the mobile networks, where we've analysed 1.2 million people in the UK in social media channels, and we've put them into groups based on their interest. This was done out of our sister agency called Kinetica, which Nat is the managing director for. So Nat can talk about this in more detail next week. But what you can see here is that of these 1.2 million followers, we're able to group them into specific behaviors. So we've got the people that like zoo and nuts. We've got people that are car enthusiasts. We've got gamers in here. We've got the Towie crowd. We've got One Directioners. We've got people that like daytime soaps and football fans. We've even got people like deal hunters. So we're able to use analytics to create a segment of followers that we know are interested in deals. Now, what this means is when we put a campaign together, we can actually put a campaign that's focused not just on the fact that they like mobile phones. So here is the new S6, for example, but we can put it in context of an interest that they have. So instead of just going and getting, some tickets for some random band, for example, we would get tickets for One Direction, and we'd promote that to the One Direction fans. The car enthusiasts, we might do something around cars or gamers, etc., like that. The other two, actually, I think, is just two other examples. One is e-cigarette brands, and then the one down in the right-hand corner, that's more of a B2B example, looking at the followers of the top 100 most social CIOs. And here you can see that we can, segment their following into CMOs, into CIOs, into devs, and also start to look at what territories they work into. So I'm going to stop my charts now because this isn't about beating you guys up with PowerPoint, but we did want to show you some data. So I'm going to start with Alex, I think, because if we ask Alex how she uses analytics helping our customers, then I can show you some of the live dashboards, and maybe I can point out some of the things that Alex talked about in live real time, and then I think we can hand over to Nat, who can talk a bit more about kind of the volumization and access to dashboards. I do want to say, though, just if you are watching this and you would like to get access to one of these dashboards or have a play about the technology, if you are a very big brand and want to talk about it in lots of detail, then please talk to me, because I would say that I'm the person in our business that understands the most. However, if what you want to do is just get your hands on a dashboard and talk about how you can get access and get it for volume, then please contact Nat. So we'll make sure that wherever this is posted, that we've got all of our Twitter handles and you can kind of follow up with us. So why don't I give myself a break and you a break from me and just hand over to Alex. So Alex, let's talk about this practically. So I love shiny new things. So tools and things like that I really like, but you actually are paid by our customers to help deliver their social strategy. So in a very practical sense, what kind of thing does analytics enable you to do?
Well, to optimize social interactions for the client's Twitter page, it starts with content. And in order to do so, I use the dashboards that you showed to see what's trending. So what I could do, for example, is look at IBM Verse and include words such as workload, email, teamwork, so on and so forth. Put that in and produce a dashboard that will show what articles are trending based on that information, and look at that live data and use that and kind of tag along and put that into social media and promote it, and then jump in on those conversations that people are talking about IBM Verse and so on and so forth. And based on that as well, I can look to see who the influencers are, who's the influencer for IBM Verse, who's talking about the new technology and for IBM, and so on and so forth, and include that information as well. And so I can jump in on their conversations and tag along, and then increase our follower growth. Also, I like to see what the hashtags are, and based on the dashboards, I can plug in to see what the hot topic or the hot hashtag is for IBM Verse, and then use that in my tweets. And again, just increase that social interaction and optimize any interaction that I can have using analytics.
So it's a real practical day-by-day tool that helps
Correct.
feed strategy, content, influencers, engagement, that kind of thing.
And then it also allows me, obviously it's going to change week to week, so I can monitor those trends, and it's just something that I like to monitor on a weekly basis. And using those dashboards, I can see when people are most active as well, and so that helps when I'm creating the tweets and promoting that.
Great. Well, I mean, it's probably quite a good opportunity actually to show some of your dashboards. So
yeah, definitely.
If you don't mind if I steer, then I can kind of click around, and please feel free to point out things as we go. But I think it's last week we talked quite a lot, but we didn't really show anything. And I think if we're going to do these and take a bit of time doing it, we should start to show people how we do things. And hopefully, as we get some momentum and some viewers, we'll be able to get into some more of the tactical things that we can talk to people about, kind of tools that we use practically in the day and how to set them up and do some kind of tutorial stuff. So why don't I just jump in and share with you all a dashboard. So what you'll see here is our Creation Analytics dashboard. So we work with the major social analytics data providers, and we provide dashboards to our customers. So they don't have to buy the software, they don't have to be trained in the software. We literally work with them to put a dashboard together and show a dashboard. So if we start with what is kind of our kind of main IT B2B dashboard, as it were, and actually we can use this for a number of clients. What you can see here is that we're looking globally for hot topics around cloud, big data, analytics, those kind of things. And in fact, if we want to jump straight into the topics in the last 30 days, we can start to see mining of this data as to what really is being talked about quite a lot. So if I change this view to sentiment, we can see what's positive, what's negative. So we can see that there's some positive stuff around mid-sized stuff, there's some negative posts around cloud technology, but it seems like cloud is a really big topic during the last 31 days. So on the front page, it gives us a nice summary, what's happening. The thing I really like about this data is that everything is completely live. So we can do nice demographic things of what are men talking about versus women. We can do some nice geographic things where we can tie down by geography. I think one of the things that's important to point out from a geographic perspective is that if people don't say where they are, the default is US because the internet traffic goes through the US, and if they're commenting on Facebook, Facebook always tags them as US because it goes through US server. So there are a little bit of limitations on the geo focusing. But what you can see here is that we're analysing 20,000 conversations. So if we just point out some of the things that Alex just talked about, so we can look in here and say, okay, what are the top trending articles in this last 30 days? So we can see here, there's one there by the MSP Hub talking about cloud. So this here you can see has been shared through Gaggle. Now, this is quite an interesting one because this actually is a website that I know Alex manages. So the MSP Hub is one of Alex's sites that she uses for IBM. And one of the reasons why this link and this content is actually trending and why we've had 108 tweets in the last 31 days is because this hashtag is part of our social amplification program. So we'll talk about social amplification and also employee advocacy in a later Hangout. But we're driving around 30,000 clicks a month using client staff into their campaigns, and that's outperforming their own channels, and it's outperforming email, paid email too. So social advocacy is currently our #1 source of traffic. So here we can see not just that this is trending, but who else is trending and who is sharing this content. So we can see what hot topic is trending that we can go share and feed out. We can also see from a Twitter perspective what hashtags are being used. So this is something that Alex talked about, and in some recent analysis, we found that we were getting the highest engagement, believe it or not, using 3 hashtags in a tweet if you can fit them in. So the difference between using 2 and 1 is that it went up by about 90%, and then you've got another 35% increase if you included 3 hashtags. I am 100% stealing Alex's thunder here because these are her statistics. If you use 4 hashtags, it actually reduces. So this tells us now if we're writing hashtags in this topic, these are the hashtags we should try and squeeze in because these are what people are using and how they're talking. We can also see who's being mentioned, and also we can filter down and see all of the tweets. So if we wanted to identify, one of the things that we said we want to identify is where conversations might be happening. So we can go and look and say, okay, so where are conversations happening? Where can we go and see? Now, this is great for media planning, if also you're doing media planning for your clients, so we can see what websites, what blogs to go and engage in. And because I said this is live, of course, we can literally click on any of these links, we can see the mentions, and we can go straight into the article. we can then reshare that article or link straight through to the site. We can send it to Buffer or something like that. The other thing that Alex mentioned, which I think is quite interesting, is being able to identify influencers and people that are talking. So we can go into our authors tab and we can see how many people are talking on a specific topic. Now, of course, as we all know, and it's quite a hot topic when we talk about things like Twitter, is that social influence is a good way to filter who the influencers are. So here you can see we've actually built in cred into the dashboard, so we can actually start to filter by cred. And if we want to say, okay, well, I don't just want to see the top, how many I've got there, 10, I want to see the top 25 live on my dashboard, then we just amend the data and we'll pull in from that 20,000 posts who are the top 25 most influential tweeters during the month on this topic. So we can go in and this enables us now to tag these people in posts to increase our engagement, and of course to go and maybe do an influencer program to ask them to share. And that applies to forums and it applies out to blogs too. So I know I'm kind of whizzing through here, I don't want to bore you too much with data, but it does give you a chance to see that we can put our ear to the web and see live. Now, what we've showed here is over the last 30 days, but of course, if we just wanted to literally say, okay, what's happening today, the picture will change dramatically. You know, so today there's been 290 people. I can go and see, okay, what's the hot topic today? And actually you can see that there's some negative stuff about co-location and blue mix. So what's happening today that's making that happen? So we can go and drill straight in, and there's been somebody that said something negative here about blue mix, which I'm not going to read because we don't need to read that now. So, but hopefully you can see here that we can be quite broad and we can be quite tactical. Other things that we do, so just as a good example of other uses of dashboards, is that's looking at a specific term across the whole web. A good thing that Alex mentioned to you was looking at one single thing. So for example, something that's happening at the moment is the launch of Watson, and for Watson we use the hashtag analytics for all. So here we're not looking across the whole web for everything, we're just looking to measure a specific event. So here we can go and see, okay, what's happening about this event? Who's been talking about it, who's been tweeting? Ian Calvert there's been tagging himself in absolutely everything to do with this. So he's, I assume that's his own landing page, not a story about the topic. So I read a brilliant article about Twitter hijacking yesterday, and maybe Nat will give us his view on that a little bit later. But it does look like Ian might be hijacking this hashtag for his own website, I guess. But we can see what else is being shared around this. We can see what hashtags people are using. So you can see that we are using this for an event. Now, also, what's really interesting that I should have mentioned earlier from an advertising perspective is that we can take all of the people that mentioned this hashtag, we can extract their Twitter IDs, and then, of course, we can feed them into the ad engine for display marketing post-event. So if we wanted to do an offer for people that were there, or we wanted to drop them into some kind of marketing automation drip campaign, we can feed them back in that way. My very, very last example, I promise, before I hand you over to Nat, is you can also tune this software to listen to a community. So here's a good example where here we're not looking at the whole of the internet. We're not looking at everybody that could be saying one word. We're specifically looking at a community and what they're saying. So here what we're not doing is looking at the words they say, we're capturing everything. So we've got a specific community that we're monitoring of partners, and we want to see what hot topics they're talking about in our given time frame. So this is looking at an ISV community, and we can see the type of topics they're talking about. So they're not talking about our client's brand, they'll be talking about things that are important to them. This is really interesting from a social selling perspective, because it allows you to prepare for meetings, enables you to engage in their content, and to really understand what's important to your customers. So that's three really nice examples where we're using analytics to monitor things that anybody's saying anywhere, things that anybody's saying about one specific thing, or anything that a group of people are saying. Now, a really good example, if we had time, we'd show you, maybe we do another session for this, is one of our clients, we use this software to monitor anybody that talks about their mobile phone products. So if somebody somewhere says, I've got this model and my battery's overheating, for example, that creates an alert and it goes straight down to the local country. And then we can analyze kind of what feedback people have, both positive and negative. So they're talking positively about the battery, the screen? Are they talking about the UI? Are they talking about a piece of software? Or are they talking negatively about those things? So it's really intelligent use of software to be able to provide good marketing planning. Now, one of the ways that I use it personally is with our large customers. So, big IT brands, big consumer brands that want to listen to, millions of conversations a month, analyze the data and take it out. So creation, that's the kind of things that we do. What we showed you a little bit earlier from Kinetica with the deep following analysis, that's really getting down to a micro level. So multiple people and lots of things that people are talking about there. So one of the things Nat's thinking about is how can he take these big corporate tools and really offer them to a much wider market. So again, why don't I give you a little bit of a break from me and let's hear some of Nat's plans for analytics. So why don't I hand over to you, Nat?
Hi. Yeah, I'm in the process of rolling these out to the sort of smaller businesses. Do that. What we're doing is do it on a geographical area, so we can, in essence, we can resell the same dashboard to multiple locations, and that can work for all sorts of businesses. In the middle of talking to some universities about this. We're talking to some hotel chains. Who else? Just trying to think. Accounting firms, solicitors worldwide, etc., etc. Obviously, there's going to be language issues, but we've got a team we can put together, so then people can actually answer the questions on a localized level. But for what I've been doing, the other day I had one of my clients is one dental practice that I deal with, and he actually had there was a query that I noticed, and there was a girl. She said she posted this question, and it said, shall I buy a car or shall I buy some veneers? I was like, so social. It's not about hard sales. Hard sales isn't really how we do social. So what I said to her was, I said, this is from a dental practice account. I said, would you like any advice on what car to buy? And then we had a long conversation via direct message on what car she was going to buy. And then literally the next day or 2 days later, she sent me a DM and it said, I just passed my test, I'm really excited, blah, blah, blah. And then we carried on this conversation about what car to buy. She said how much money she had to spend and blah, blah. And, the practice I do with ads and this kind of stuff. And if I'd have tried to sell her something, and she would have backed some rapport, and she knows that we're not going to try and force her to buy anything like a lot of businesses would have done. And in regulated industries like that, it's actually illegal to push people to do things. So you have to soft sell, which is great experience, for the account managers. And community managers that we have. So yeah, it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
So I think what we're saying then, if I can kind of paraphrase you then, Nat, I think what we're saying is that we've got, in a very soft sell kind of way, we have these big corporate tools that we use with kind of these big global brands, but actually what you're working on is being able to find common dashboards that are common to a community. So, I'm sure your dentist query, anybody talking about advice on veneers or whatever, or, I was a customer for Invisalign, so anybody that's looking for that kind of stuff, somebody in Brighton or somebody in Portsmouth or somebody in Newcastle, the query would be the same effectively, but they'd just be able to geo-focus where their conversations were. So we can take this kind of big data and offer it to a volume of people where essentially they're all seeing the same data information, but at a much lower cost, right? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the location of the business, and also certain industries are not hugely social. Yeah, so for instance, within the dental industry, people are used to dental practices about what cars to buy. Yeah, so so it's really dependent on the industry. And obviously the amount of conversations that are happening online, and what services you want to soft sell people, really.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. So I think if we start to wrap up this session then today, so I think what we're saying is that we have some great tools if you want to have a look. If you want to understand a bit more about social analytics, please give any of us a shout. We can give you access to dashboards we have now if you think that some of those are of interest. But what if you've got a community that you want to provide a dashboard out to the whole community, then there really does need to be no limit on the logins. We can either manage the data for you and give you a report, but if you just want the data and you want to plug your Twitter handle in off the back of the software, or you want to go and get your hands dirty in the forums having conversations with people, we can just provide these dashboards to you. And importantly, I think what Alex has done is given us some kind of practical things we can do with the analytics. Now, what I will do, which I'll put as a link off this Hangout, is we don't just want to be on here and tell you, we've got these tools and you can use them and that kind of thing. We have grown up with this software, and there is some fantastic packages that enable you to do some analytics at a very low cost, and some of those applications are free. So what I will do is I'll put a little post together on how to do analytics on a budget, or how to do analytics with no budget, and I'll link it off this video in YouTube. So if you can't find it, please tweet me. I'm just at Jason Burrows. But me and the guys will put a list of tools together. How to get started with analytics. Because I think what you'll find is as you start to use the free tools, you'll then get value in analytics, and then you want to move to something up a little bit more corporate. So a great free one for you is one called Social Mention. It's one that we started using many years ago. It's quite slow. Like all of the free ones, because they interrogate the social APIs live, so they're doing calls on their API, so you have to wait for the data. Whereas the difference with the corporate solutions is that the data kind of sits in a software farm or an Amazon farm, and then you're interrogating a copy of the data, so you get your returns really quickly. So we will put together a short blog. I'll ask Alex to contribute as well, because I think there are some things that Alex uses that I don't use, that can give you some advice on how to start to use analytics. And like we said, that's a little bit of a session on the listening piece. That I think next time we'll talk a bit more about analysis of followers, because when we start to get into analysis of followers, this can really help you build your social influence. It can help you build the amount of followers you have. It'll give you people to do targeted unfollow against, and also enable you to find influencers in communities to help you seed your content. If you're trying to get some content marketing off the ground too. So understanding follow behavior, I think, is kind of the next logical one for us to talk about. If you do want us to talk a bit about Watson, we can give you a demo of Watson, and we can invite somebody from IBM in to talk about that too. So please make sure you tweet any of us. So I'm gonna pass around the guys so they can tell you their handles, and again, like I said, we'll list them on the in the text on YouTube. So if you want to follow up with any of us to get any inputs on maybe the next topic, or you want to see us demo Watson or something like that, because that's something we use too, please give me a shout out at Jason Burrows, or you can tweet Nat, and he is at Nat Schooler. So it's school with an ER at the end. And again, like I said, we'll list this on both the Hangout and also on the YouTube page that we posted. So as our second one, that was probably a bit less organised and a bit more rambly, so we do apologise. But I promise if you stick with us, we'll get a little bit better, and we will invite some of the characters in to talk about stuff too. So a quick snapshot on analytics, like we said. Look out for our blog post on how to get started with some free tools. And of course, if you just want to get access to some of the dashboards we've got, just give us a shout. So please, I hope you're not watching live, you're enjoying the sun, which is where I think we will be heading in about 30 seconds. So have a great weekend, guys, and we'll catch up with you next week. Take care.